I'll do tea, I'll do spray. Like,
I've never been big on like tea and stuff.
A shot of whiskey or a slam of beer right there to cool the nerves.
No drinking beer.
One little shot, but I'll get it in like a little whiskey glass and I'll just sip on that before I go on stage. I guess I was 5, and when Ace Ventura: Pet Detective came out. I was like, okay, that makes sense. This Ace Ventura loves animals. This whole movie is about animals. And so I just was like, okay, they're just an animal band, and that's why he likes them so much, because they sound like animals.
First exposure to like hardcore and screaming that I had was a band called Shai Hulud. Because they're the first ones that I heard that was like full-blown screaming. I think I was a sophomore in high school, and that was kind of like the explosion of screaming music and extreme music all together.
I remember I was 15 or 16, and I first heard OTEP band. Okay. Like my friend showed me their music and stuff, and I was like, "Oh my God! Well, I like this dude's attitude, you know." And my friend just was like, "No, Tati, it's a girl." I was like, "Shit, are you seriously?"
When I first got into metal, the first band I ever heard was Metallica. It was Metallica, Megadeth, Testament, Pantera, Slayer. I remember it was when getting into Pantera, starting to get an introduction to extreme metal vocals, like when Phil started getting a little bit more extreme and Far Beyond Driven, especially on Great Southern Trendkill. But hearing early on, like the first death metal band I ever heard was Cannibal Corpse, and I heard Corpse Grinder stuff first.
I remember making friends with this kid, and he burned me Metallica's Ride the Lightning CD. And obviously, you know, never have I heard anything like the deeper cuts, like the more, you know, the heavier stuff. I think it was Trapped Under Ice on Metallica's Ride the Lightning, and going, holy shit. Just mind blown that, you know, someone could make these sounds, and then past that, moving into like Slipknot and System of a Down and Mudvayne and such.
For me, it was like, I'll be really honest, it was listening to Hatebreed. Hatebreed were the band that inspired me to do what I do, because at that point in time I couldn't sing, I couldn't be in a punk rock band, and heavy bands started really attracting me.
So I would say the band that introduced me to heavy vocals was Avenged Sevenfold with their album Waking the Fallen. And I actually heard Chapter 4 for the first time off of, I believe it was Madden 2003. But that, I mean, throughout the years, I think 02 through like 06, Madden had like Under Oath, Thrice, Brand New, Avenged Sevenfold, Atreyu. Like, that's what got me into metalcore and got me into screaming.
Actually, my very first attempt to scream was trying to sing along with Jonathan Davis on the song Blind that was on the Woodstock 99 CD or DVD. I watched that DVD religiously, and I remember just in my living room headbanging and trying to like vocalize the lyrics like he did, and it was a massive failure. I would never have done that in the presence of anyone else, and thank God I didn't, because even though I was alone doing it, I was still like looking around to see like, did anybody hear me do that? It was so embarrassing.
Honestly, it was probably when I started driving myself to school. I had a little truck, and I lived, 10 minutes from the school. So on every drive in the morning and every drive back home, I put a little MP3 player into my truck and the radio back in the day when we didn't have Bluetooth. Plug my iPod video, that big clunky thing in there, and just put on shuffle, and whatever came up, I just try singing, screaming along. And man, it was probably months of going into school with a hoarse voice.
When I first started doing this stuff, like this was before, man, this makes me feel old. This is before YouTube even existed. So there was no concept of technique and there was no way of finding out how this was done other than listening to a tape and going, that sounds like this band, so I'm gonna like try and emulate that. But you had no guidance in whatever way to do it. So these days you do, like YouTube is full of people with their theories on it. Some of them I go, that's interesting. And some of them I go, man, you're way off. You're gonna be hurting yourself doing that. So
I bet I did it a lot later in life than the average metal vocalist. I guess I was 18. My brother and I were in a band, and it was the first song that he had made that had a breakdown in it. I just kind of attempted it without ever trying it before, which was extremely arrogant. And I'm sure it was horrible, but back then it was great because none of us could hear ourselves. Because we're just like blaring over some used PA that we had.
It was winter, and it was, I remember, 8 p.m. and it was like 15 degrees below zero. And me and that friend who showed me OTAB, we went to the outskirts, and I started just screaming at cars that were passing by. I practiced one song. It was Dig by Mudvayne. It was Mudvayne that actually I took lessons, and I hated how my voice sounded that moment. I was like, oh my God, I suck.
I wasn't the greatest singer in the world, so I just tried to make sounds and emulate it. I feel like I was a better screamer. Like my screaming that still is to this day, the signature sound, is something I discovered way quicker and way earlier than the singing. I feel like the screaming that I developed now, the foundations of it were pretty early on. You could tell on even Ember to Inferno for sure. I had it. Ascendancy was I feel like peak form. Caphernome was some of the best screaming I did, and I was about 16, 17 during that stuff. So the recorded version I do now is still the exact same thing, but there's obviously a live technique because I sing and scream 3 to 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. So there has to be a sustainable version as well, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
I would practice my vocals in the closet of my room. So my room was like on the opposite side of the house of my parents' room. So when I thought they were asleep every night, I would go to the closet, shove a blanket at the bottom to soundproof it, and then scream. But looking back, they have confirmed with me they did hear me doing vocals, and I thank them for not making me feel weird about it.
My whole family, I have 4 little brothers, and I have a sister. So all of the little brothers would all come to the show, and my whole family would come. They'd all wear our merch, and just eventually my little brothers would be like in the mosh pit jumping around and stuff. We actually played we played my brother Mac. We played his like middle school graduation, very inappropriate. And it was like a little party outside, and I remember he like ran up on stage while we were playing and like whipped his shirt off and was like spinning around his head and then jumped into the mosh pit. And the teachers actually had to come and like stop the performance because the kids were moshing. So like they were really accepting of it. I think they were just happy that we were doing what we liked.
My dad used to make fun of it, and I think a lot of parents referred that he would always make fun of it, and I think he used to say like the "kill your mother, kill your father" lyrics. Like that's what he used to see it as, and would talk some serious shit. So I don't think he was very open to it at first. And I don't know if my mom really cared. She was always just kind of like, you do what you want. It's not for me, but you do what you want. And my dad was the one that was more opposing and just could not get it. But he eventually kind of clicked and either stopped caring, and I just wore him down to stop caring, or his jokes got old and he just gave up. I don't know.
It never was really anything taken seriously until, I Prevail started up, and we were actually, writing records and taking a lot of time and putting money into it, that my parents were like, well, wait, so what is this that you're doing? I dropped out of school, dropped out of college, had not even a bachelor's in anything. And 2 months later, we released the record, and 6 months later, I think we were on our first tour and signed. And that's when they were like, "Hey, if you can afford to feed yourself and cover your bills, then we support you." And that was great.
God, I never really got much of a reaction from my parents, to be honest. Like, nothing bad. I guess the best thing I could say was my parents would come to the gigs. Like, so it was never the kind of thing of you sound funny or what are you doing? It was just when we started playing, my parents were there from day one, which was really, really cool. I think they'd copped enough of myself and my brother listening to like heavy music over the family stereo system to at least understand that we were interested in like a kind of music that they hadn't listened to before. But we got really open-minded parents who were really, really awesome.
My dad helped me start MKH Productions in 2000. So he was the manager from 1999 till the time I was about 25, 26 years old. My parents have always been super supportive, and I'm very lucky. If you don't have that, doesn't mean you cannot be successful. But I would absolutely say without my parents being so supportive, it would have been difficult. My parents came to our shows that consisted of anywhere from 3 to 7 people, including them, and probably an aunt or an uncle. Cupping the mic, let's talk about it. I can't cup the mic when I'm playing guitar and singing, which is a good thing. But some people, if it's part of their sound, cool. I know producers hate it, but I think whatever it takes to make a sound happen, because I get asked a lot of questions about volume. Should I be singing loud? Should I be screaming loud? It doesn't matter. Volume is relative. If the tone's awesome and you're quiet, no one has to know about the volume. It's going to a microphone that's going to PA anyway. But if it sounds like you're singing quiet, then it's a problem.
Let's phone a friend and get our front of house Logan Beaver in here and ask him what he thinks. He has made significant progress with me not cupping the mic. It's a front of house nightmare, and I understand, so I try not to do it. But some words, some lines need it to get that low end. For me, I know it's frowned upon.
It's never been something that I've done intentionally. It was just a bad habit I picked up, like starting off, like, you know, everyone's looked at a musician and taken inspiration if they wanted to be a singer. Like, the way he does that, oh man, that's sick, whether you know it or not. So like, I just picked up the mic and grabbed it by the top and just started screaming into it. And then it wasn't until we started touring that our sound guy, who's incredibly talented, was like, "Hey, what you're doing is causing all this distortion, and I promise you, it sounds better if you just." I was like, "Man, I know, it's a bad habit. I keep smacking my hand when I go to grab the top of the mic, but I don't know. I never really." I know a lot of kids on the internet be like, "Oh, he's cupping the mic." Cupping the mic.
You want to talk about cupping the mic? Well, I'm a mic cupper. It's like a security thing. So let's talk about it. Okay, first of all, you know, not all of us have fancy in-ear monitors. You know, until last year was the first time I bought in-ear monitors, and I've never been able to hear myself on stage. So what's a great way to be able to quickly hear yourself efficiently? Cup the mic and get volume, right? There's a couple reasons I do it. Number one, it protects my body and my teeth from like if someone were to push me or something. So I think that's why I started doing it like really close in. It like protects my chest and my teeth. I mean, honestly, mainly because when I was starting out, like people would like grab my boob. So it's like I would do this to protect myself, like so I could just kind of let my guard down and sing, and which is up. But I'm like, what am I gonna do? Not go on stage? All I can do is like try to whack someone and keep going. It's like them. That doesn't happen as much anymore. But like, it used to be the wild, wild west, y'all. Like, people suck.
Always, always, and forever. I try, but it feels really weird for me to hold this thing like that. You know, I feel like I'm like somewhere in like Russian pop star from 70s announcing something, you know, or whatever, like, or I'm at the wedding or something. So it goes until the day you die. It looks aggressive. It sounds aggressive, and it's just like my tiny hand. It just slips up to the actual like dynamic. And yeah, I cannot get rid of it. I just can't.
I'm not going to say I don't cup the mic. I definitely do like a one hand type of thing, but I never double cup with like, the vocalist that'll do that with the mic. I just feel like it makes it super muddy sounding. You lose a lot of character and nobody's going to understand what you're saying, but maybe you'll sound really cool. And if that's what you're going for, then maybe cupping the mic is for you, but it's not for me.
I do a 30-minute warm-up. I go out, and to me, what gets me the most ready to perform live is just the energy of the crowd and the stage. So like, I have to go backstage to feel the energy of the band playing and the crowd to kind of jolt me into that mode and get that adrenaline going. If it's like a show where maybe you went too hard and you have are having trouble talking, I just try my best to shut up, not talk to anybody. I'll do tea, I'll do spray, like whatever I could to just try to let my voice relax. And that has been, honestly, it's tough not to talk, but it is by far the best help. And that in conjunction with getting a lot of sleep.
No drinking beer. I try not to talk after shows and before shows. And I skip sound checks. Also, I got like when I was in the US, I found a spray, like singer's spray for vocalists. Mm-hmm. It's like non-alcohol stuff, and you know what? It really helped.
Let's see. First of all, I really try not to talk very much on tour before I do a show and after I do a show, or really anytime there's loud music playing. And then I need a hot coffee. It doesn't matter how burning hot. It could be 110 degrees out. I need a hot coffee. It warms my voice. And then I need to eat something small, like not a meal, because I'll burp on stage, because I'm like the whole time you're basically just like pushing your stomach out. And I'll have something small specifically like for saliva production, and then I usually will have something that's spicy, and that kind of helps like all the blood vessels in my throat kind of like, I feel like everything's relaxed. I mean, I even have been known to like swig some hot sauce before I go on stage. I know alcohol is dehydrating, but that's why I just have like one little shot, but I'll get it in like a little whiskey glass and I'll just sip on that before I go on stage. I'm just always trying to like lube it up,
For pre-show must, I would say, you just got to drink a lot of water. I've never been big on like tea and stuff. You got to warm up, obviously. I have a warm-up routine I got from a vocal lesson with Mama Jan. You can look her up on Google. You'll find her. She's helped a lot of people way more famous than me. But yeah, warm up and water. Those are my big two.
THC has to be a little bit away from the moment I walk on stage, because there's been times where I go up there and I'm talking like, shit, what was I supposed to be saying right now? Oh yeah, give it up for the other bands. I can't do it. I can't do it. A shot of whiskey or a slam of beer right there to cool the nerves. And we have this little ritual where we all get in this. You ever see Hot Rod part where they do this like goofy handshake? And we took that from day one of our first show. That's about it. Shot of whiskey, slam of beer.
Pre-show must. I've tried all that stuff. I've tried throat coat and honey on stage and reflux medications. I think it was reflux, and sitting up for 3 hours after eating before going to bed, all this stuff, thinking it was allergies, doing nasal surgery, doing septum surgery, all this stuff. I thought it was all these different things, as all singers and screamers always think they do. It all came down to technique. And that's what Matt Sanders from Avenged told me as well. I was like, well, do you think it's this, or this? He's like, dude, I thought it was all this stuff too. It's just technique. So once I had the perfect technique in, it works anytime. But I need to be fully warmed up for the screaming to work. I know what best time of day my safe screaming works. And it's generally the closest possible after that hour of warm-up is when the screaming has the highest range, and it gradually gets lower as the day goes on, and the pitch lowers and the rasp and distortion starts to go away towards the end of the day. So it's actually better for my screaming immediately after warm-up, but my singing sounds better the longer in between here and here.